Hi everyone, it's Vanessa Ellen from Ielts Prep. Who likes a success story? And today I have a great one from one of my students, Mohamed, who scored a 7 in his writing. And like many students, he was struggling to get a 7. So we're going to listen to his story and hopefully he can give you some tips and some ideas so that you too can improve your writing. Hi, Mohamed.
Hi, Vanessa.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. And thank you so much for doing this video with me today because
It's my pleasure.
I just felt that it was important for students to have a little bit of motivation and to see that success is possible. So, can you tell us when you first started? When was the first exam that you ever took?
So the first exam I took was actually 3 years ago, and I had the written exam. I had to, even though my handwriting is terrible, I opted for that one because I was not sure that I'm gonna do well on the computer base. And I took the exam without any prior preparation.
Mm.
I just went in right away. I got a 6, as you know. And then I left it for a couple of years until my exam expired, and then I had to take the exam again. This is when I contacted you, and I did the. We started the preparation, and after a month, I think it was a month, yeah. So I had to take the exam again for my own personal reasons, even though you told me you're not ready, and I got a 6.5, as you know. And then I wanted to take the exam again to reach my goal and get a 7. So we did additional classes for 2 more months, and then I was able to achieve the score thanks to you.
I was so excited when you got the score because I know how hard you worked. You really, really did work hard and you
It was
paid
a
attention.
journey.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
journey, but you succeeded. You paid attention to the comments and you worked really hard to change the things that
yeah.
you were doing that weren't right. So that was good.
I think that's exactly where it matters, where you have to know. It's more importantly than English itself. It's for you to know what you're doing wrong and try to correct it and work on it.
So, what did you do? I mean, actually, before we do that, I'd like to just share with the viewers just a very quick screenshot of what
Sure.
your essays looked like in terms of the corrections. Now, for those of you who don't know how I correct essays, there's a lot of color involved. So we have different colors
Yes.
for different areas, whether it's grammar, vocabulary. So we're going to have a look at some tasks that Mohamed did, just so that I can show you the difference from the before and after. So
Yeah.
let's have a quick look. Okay, so this was one of the earlier essays that Mohamed did. Now, the purple is spelling. Yellow is grammar, so there's a lot of grammar mistakes in there. Well, a few grammar mistakes as well. And yeah, a couple of other different colors going on there. But as you can see, there was a lot of mistakes. There was also some structural mistakes in this essay. So that was at the beginning. Now I want to show you an
Before the
essay
exam.
a couple of days before Mohamed took his exam. Let's have a look at the difference. There's a
Even the
massive,
difference is jarring.
you can see it. There's only two
Yeah.
spelling mistakes, the purple. Yes, there's still a few grammar mistakes in yellow, that one little red bit, but we discussed that. So as you can see, you made a massive, massive improvement. And I'd like you to tell us how, particularly when it came to spelling. What did you do?
Oh, the spelling. The spelling was my main issue that I was always struggling with, even though I wasn't aware of it beforehand because I'm always typing on the computer or the phone and there is the autocorrect. But when it comes to writing and dialects, I always had a struggle with actually, even though I know how the words are written sometimes when I'm typing too fast or when I'm not sure about how a specific I and E or a specific vowels needs to be written in a word, I make these mistakes. And more importantly was the revision after the writing. Like I would just read the essay that I just wrote. I wouldn't get into the details and how every single word is written. And once I started doing that, I think this where the major development happened, because I was able to spot silly mistakes that anyone can do. Like even the most professional writers can just fall victim to these kind of mistakes, and they are very critical to the score at the end of the day. It makes a huge difference between a 7 or a 7.5 in the lexical resource and a 6 or even a 5.
Mm. And
So
that's something that we saw in your writing, because you've got really good language skills. You do. In terms of the vocabulary, the range of vocabulary that you have, it's really, really good. But what was happening is that you had far too many spelling mistakes. Far too many. Now, in terms of grammar, yes, you do still have some grammar mistakes. But again, did you do anything in terms of grammar?
Well, yeah, I feel like beforehand, my grammar, even though I didn't have a lot of grammatical mistakes, or they were a lot, but they weren't that big, that big of an issue. I feel like the biggest struggle I had was the variety of the grammatical structures I had in my essay. So this is one part that I really focused on, and even though there are many grammatical complex structures, I didn't have to include all of them in each essay. Like if I had to focus on a couple that I knew how to use really well and not make mistakes with them, I was able to implement them correctly in my essay, and they helped me get my essay to a degree where I can achieve the needed score in this specific criteria, the grammatical part. Yeah.
Mm. And what was really great with you is that I would tell you about a structure and you would try it and you would
Yeah,
try it again.
exactly.
And then you chose the ones that you felt the most comfortable using. And
True.
that's, I think, a key thing, that students shouldn't be trying to throw all these grammar structures in if they don't know how to use them accurately, because it's not going
Exactly.
to help. All
I
right.
think it can make even the matter worse if you can keep just using grammatical structures that you're not familiar with, and you end up making more grammatical mistakes that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah. And it can then have a knock on effect for coherence and cohesion, because then if
Exactly.
you're using these grammar structures incorrectly and then
You
it
might have faulty
causes
sentences.
a problem for the reader to follow, then yeah, not only have you got grammar, but you've also got coherence and cohesion problems. So it is important to make sure that you use them accurately. What issues did you have in terms of task response?
In regards to the task response, I think even though I had an issue with my grammar and spelling a little bit, I feel like my biggest issue was with the task response. Like at the beginning, I wasn't sure exactly how I should address the question fully. After practicing, honestly, I think this the only way for like bettering yourself in this part is practice and to read the question in a very proper way. I even was gonna make this issue in my actual exam. I had a problem with this in the exam where I almost interpreted the question wrong, but upon reading the question very carefully and understanding every single word written in the question, I was able to overcome this issue. But practice and being very careful is a key point regarding this. Yeah.
And how about in regards to your examples? What were you doing with examples?
Yeah. So my examples were a lot of times were either very general or very specific or not related to the topic at all. So I had my examples were all over the place, but also with like practice and trying to linking my sentences together and having a logical train of thought of how the paragraph is progressing. I was able to uh, manage to find a specific examples that's really relatable to the point I'm making without overgeneralizing or being too specific.
Mm. And what about referencing? Because this is a problem with coherence and
Yes.
cohesion. A lot of students get referencing wrong. So was that an issue for you?
Yeah, I did a lot of referencing mistakes in the beginning. Usually, I would reference something while I give too much information in the beginning, and you can tell what I'm referencing to.
Do you mean referencing something that you had mentioned earlier in the paragraph?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, like I would reference something that I mentioned earlier, or even in the same sentence, I would reference something that was like in the beginning of the sentence, and I mentioned something that could work with the same reference after it, and then I end up losing the coherence of where that reference is supposed to fall onto.
Yeah, it's a real tricky one because
Yeah,
when it comes to coherence and cohesion, if you have referencing errors, it's going to cause you to get no more than a 6 for coherence and cohesion. So it is a big
true.
issue. Do you have any sort of final tips that you'd like to share in relation to what students should be doing to improve?
Well, I think mostly it's about, for me at least, this was like the revision. The revision is the most important part. Like you can write as much as you want, not as much as you want, but you can write as naturally as you want, and you can go ahead with writing. But at the end of the day, you have to revise everything. You have to leave enough time at the end of the exam for you to revise and to make sure that everything is flowing naturally. All the sentences are connecting. There isn't conflicting ideas. Your position is supported enough, and um, really, at the end of the day, everyone should have a session with Vanessa, because she's an
Not
amazing
everybody.
teacher.
No, I can't take everybody. it's really kind of you to say that, Mohammed, but I honestly can't take everybody.
Really, the revision makes all the difference.
Yeah.
After all our sessions together and all the writing and making these many mistakes, I found out that the revision makes the biggest difference in everything, not only in the spelling or the grammar, even in the ideas in themselves, or even in the way the paragraph is coherently progressing.
I'm sure that that's going to be beneficial for a lot of students because, as you know, you've struggled yourself, and it was,
Yes.
how do I get this? How do I improve this? But you've just shared with a lot of students what you did, so that they can hopefully do the same and get their score.
And a very important thing I think everyone needs to know is that the progress is not going to be instantaneous. No one is going to attend a session or just write a couple of essays and they're going to find themselves ready to take the exam. At some points, the process is going to feel frustrating, and they're going to feel like they're tired of doing it, and they would want to quit at some point. But I think that everyone just needs to persevere and to put in the work, and it will pay off.
That's a really good point. Thank you for raising that, because it is important. We all want things to happen quickly, but unfortunately, when it comes to IELTS preparation, particularly writing, it does take time. Even if you have good language skills, it still can take time, because you're having to learn how to write in an academic way. You have to learn how to use critical thinking. You have to learn what they want in your writing in order to score well. So it is a process, and yes, patience and perseverance is key, definitely.
Yeah. And I want to thank you for being such a tough examiner, because really, if you are too lenient, no one is gonna learn from their mistakes.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mohamed. And you can just leave your IELTS preparation behind now, because you've got your score. Congratulations. So thank you once again for sharing all that information. And I'm sure it's going to be beneficial for everybody.
Thank you so much.